Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to Momenta on the main line. We're your hosts. I'm Dr. Joanna and Ilan.
And I'm Dr. Ilan Green. We're here to talk about all things health, wellness, fitness, performance, and overall well-being. Hope you enjoy the show. Our guest today is a certified yoga instructor, mindfulness and meditation teacher, and EFT/TFT tapping instructor with special certifications for trauma-sensitive populations. In many experiences throughout her life, she's been able to apply the following quote introduced to her by her mom: "It's the journey, not the destination." Whether she's on her yoga mat, spending time with her husband, son, family, and friends, yoga is a journey to finding happiness in the present moment. Since obtaining her 200-hour RYT certification in 2012, she has taught within studios for local nonprofits, school systems, Chester County Youth Center, and most recently opened her own business, Vibes LLC. Vibes services include assisting employers and their employees to create a happy workplace environment by implementing gentle yoga and meditation into the workday. This helps to create a comfortable, open lines of communication and helps to decrease turnover. She loves to teach and practice yoga with anyone and everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jess Lupacckino.
Thanks for having me. Hi, everyone.
Welcome. We're so excited to have you on.
Thanks. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, we mentioned it a little bit before we started recording here, but we've been wanting to do this with you for the longest time. When we first started the podcast, we were coming up with a list of people that we wanted to interview, and I was like, we got to interview Jess. And we wanted to have you in person, and then COVID spiked again. So I'm really excited to actually have the opportunity to do this because we're stoked on what you do, and we want people to know about it. So
thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So, well, first question, we usually start off with a little bit of a background, but I know before you started Day Vibes, you had some experience with yoga and whatnot, but I think I also read in your bio that you used to work in project management. Is that right?
Yeah, for about 20 years.
Yeah. So I'm curious, what kind of had you shift that career path toward what you're doing now with Day Vibes?
Well, really just trying to figure out what they refer to now as life-work integration opposed to work-life balance, which I think is awesome because really, we shouldn't be figuring out our life around work. It should be the opposite. So, yoga was one of those hobbies, activities that I was able to squeeze into my life back in about 2007. And when I did, I realized it helped me so much with finding that life work integration. And it just made it easier to go to work and also kind of figure out where I was in my personal and also my work career life.
Cool. And I find it interesting too, because I think as a very non-flexible person myself, I feel like yoga is very, very challenging. But I feel like yoga was the first thing that I truly understood the word practice, where
Yeah.
it's that constant kind of effort to get better at it. So I guess there are so many different types of yoga. Can you talk a little bit about the type of yoga that you typically enjoy, the type of yoga that you typically teach and utilize? Is it different in any way, or is it kind of consistent?
Yeah, so interestingly enough, and that's a great question, because I think there are other yoga instructors like myself who, when we started, practicing yoga, it was really like a vinyasa flow, which is a lot of sun salutations, moving from asana, which is a posture in yoga, from asana to asana, and really working on your breath. And of course, any yoga that I love to teach and also practice, it's really more about getting out of your head and letting go of the past and the control over the future and finding the present moment. But for me personally, when I first started, it was more so about the challenge, getting better, and the workout. So over the years, as I've deepened my practice, it's less about the challenge in the workout, and it's more about the deepening and really finding myself, which is why I started Day Vibes. And, kind of the way I teach is more about there's no right and wrong as far as your actual physical practice. I want people to more, deepen emotionally and connect with themselves.
Yeah, that's a really good point right there about deepening your own personal emotional state and understanding. And I want to ask you, because I know when I think about like yoga and meditation, I think about something that's very personal. It's a very personal practice, and you really come to understand, I think, yourself better, your emotions, your mind state. But how do you take that sort of personal practice and transition it into Day Vibes, where it's more of like workplace? You're trying to kind of take a bunch of individual personalities and find some sort of mindful place. How do you do that, since it's a personal practice, but in a shared space?
Yeah. Well, I try to come from a place of being relatable, in that I spent 20 years in that corporate chair. Mm-hmm. And I think when it really comes down to it, when you're working with employees, because I experienced that, I think it's safe to say that a lot of us have been in similar situations throughout that 9 to 5 work life. So I try to be relatable and talk about those feelings of being overwhelmed with your work. And, burnout prevention. I do a lot of workshops on that, because I think so many of us, especially in our generation, I'm like at the beginning of the millennials. So I think we still kind of have that Gen X and boomer, go to work, put your head down and keep your mouth shut.
Yeah. Keep grinding through to retirement.
Yes. And, thank goodness we're evolving. Yeah. And, this practice, as far as corporate wellness goes, is about finding your voice. And rather than sometimes speaking in a way that's going to leave you and maybe someone else feeling bad, it's about finding your voice, using it to really speak clearly and effectively, and come from a place of confidence. And, it's going to help you focus, become more clear, and really just, find your place, find your life work integration, and know that you can do a really good job. You can also speak up for yourself, and you can enjoy going to work, because as you deepen your practice and you start to learn about yourself, you're going to be so much better for others. And at the height of it all, you're going to be happy, and happiness is contagious.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and that's why I think, what you do is so cool, because it is very beneficial to be able to come in and provide an opportunity for people to become a bit more grounded, and also kind of have a sense of clarity and sense of presence in what you do. So I think that's super cool. Can you tell me a little bit about the types of like companies that you're working with, the environment? Because I know it's pretty spread, but just to give the audience an idea of the types of places that you're going into to work with people.
Sure. As far as Day Vibes clients go, I'm at the Barnes Foundation, which is a nonprofit. They're a huge art collector in Philadelphia. And recently, I'll be going, I just found out that I'll be going to Alexandria, Virginia, to Stanley Martin Homes, which is pretty cool, into their corporate office, where we'll be doing half in person and then zooming out to remote employees. And then I do some smaller companies, an HVAC company. We all know Patrick Boyle.
Yep. Shout
So
out, Matt.
Boyle, yeah, who's great. And actually, if I can take a moment to just talk about Boyle Energy and Patrick.
Yeah, he was also kind of who I was thinking of too, because I find it so interesting that I'll let you tell it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it's awesome because Patrick runs Boyle Energy, and not only does he put these sessions in place, which Jess Harrington, as you know, Journey to Yourself stress management coach, we go in together. And the coolest part is that Patrick is there with his employees for the sessions. He's participating, he's vocal, and he wants to create this healthy, amazing, happy corporate culture, which is what we all really want.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, and I think I guess there are a lot of people who are working jobs that they may be passionate about, may not be, but I think at the end of the day, it all kind of comes down to having an opportunity to check in with yourself and ground yourself and kind of move forward the best like version of yourself, if that makes sense.
Yes.
And so I'm curious if you have any tips for anybody listening, just some of the strategies that you use to help people kind of take a second to get grounded again and, root down and find that sense of peace within themselves throughout the workday if they feel overwhelmed, with the workday or the tasks ahead. What does that look like?
Yeah. So, I mean, honestly, the way I start out and end most sessions is just with breathing exercises. Mm-hmm. And the reason I suggest this to everyone is because the one thing we are all in control of at all times is our breath. Mm-hmm. So to really, kind of break away from whatever has happened in the past, because so many of us kind of get hung up on these situations that, the hamster wheel's going, the broken record thoughts, the obsessive compulsive thinking, where we waste so much time and spend so much time on these things that have already happened, and why. And then also trying to control the future where, sorry, but your plans for next week could possibly get ruined by who knows what. So really that's out of your control too. So why spend so much time stressing or being anxious over something that you have no idea how it's going to go? So to come back into the present moment and really just be mindful of all that matters right now is you're alive and you're breathing. So take a moment to take the biggest breath of the day, as one of my favorite people, Yoga with Adrian, always says, take your biggest breath of the day. It's the easiest thing to do. Just take a moment and inhale deeply and exhale completely. And then move on with, your day, the present moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I wanted to ask you a question because, I think it's easy to recognize when you're becoming overwhelmed yourself with your own personal work or maybe within a work environment. But what are some of the, I guess, signs and symptoms, as we would say, being, within the health field, that it's time to kind of seek extra help and maybe take a step toward trying to gain more mindfulness within your workplace? What are some of the things that, like within the workplace specifically as a team, that people could look out for to say, like, okay, I need to take that extra step and look for a little bit of, counseling of some sort in the mindfulness in the workplace?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's important to talk about because the best method for burnout is burnout prevention, because once you're in it, it's a dark place to be.
The fire has started. Yes.
Yeah, you're in it. So if you can recognize some symptoms prior, for instance, headaches, and these are more physical symptoms, but body aches, even simple things as far that you notice every day at your desk, neck pain, back pain, and also one that's physical and emotional, can be shoulder pain and hip pain, because we tend to, men especially, in your upper body, when something's going on emotionally, you can hold that as physical pain in your neck and shoulders. And women more so tend to hold that emotional pain that comes out physically in your hips. So you may notice these things going on. Definitely your temper, it's easy to it's easy to become a little more assertive, and maybe, snap on people. Kind of those feelings of anxiety can start to happen. So there's a lot going on. When you get home, you could feel very frustrated, after work, and you may be taking that out on your family or friends, which is a huge sign. Exhaustion, maybe you're not getting enough sleep because you're up at night thinking about all the things, that happened or that you need to do at work. So those are a few prevention symptoms or signs.
What about as an employer, recognizing certain patterns between your employees, maybe within their interactions? Are there different things that we could be aware of that, maybe someone as an employer thinks everything is really great, but then they start to see little problems crop up between employees? Have you recognized any patterns in behavior that might clue into needing a little extra help?
In your 20 years experience working in
Interestingly enough, people get quiet, really quiet.
Okay.
And I think that's a great time to really implement something different. A big sign that things need to change. People get really quiet because they get tired of voicing their opinion.
Hopeless, maybe within their work. Okay.
Yeah, and I think they revert back to that head down, especially if it's the type of person that wasn't originally like that. If all of a sudden now head down, mouth shut, that's a major red flag that something's going on. And I think when you walk into any department or a room, anytime there's tension and overwhelmment, you can just feel it.
Yeah, definitely.
You can just feel it. So, I think it's really great for employers to be checking in more often than that annual review. And I think it's also important here to talk about finding a balance, because so often I think we hear people really dishing on management, sure, because people leave a lot of the time because of bad management. They don't necessarily leave because the machine is broken. They leave because there's that, management that's just not great. So I think it's important to remember, stress starts at the top. So owners, CEOs, they're stressed, but it's important to remember that it trickles down and the people below them are doubly stressed.
Yeah, it's true.
And you've got to find a little empathy and compassion all around to realize that no matter which end you're at, everybody's stressed, everybody's overwhelmed.
Yeah. Well, and I'm curious too, because I think being able to go into a place and have, or I guess establish enough level of comfort to be able to have those conversations or to be able to bring those things up to influence a more positive environment when it comes to communication within the company. How do you go about doing that? It can be challenging. And I guess I assume that most of the companies that bring you on are at the point where they're interested in doing that and ready to do that, but still it's not easy to be able to accomplish that, right?
Yeah, I think right now I'm kind of in that stage. Day Vibes hasn't even been in business for 2 years. So right now as far as corporate goes, I'm doing a lot of like one-off sessions. So I'll go in for like, one wellness session other than like Boyle Energy and Barnes Foundation, where I touch on these things. And I think the best way to touch on these things is before I book a session, I ask for the company to share with me their mission statement, their, core values. And I try to build those into the session.
Mm-hmm.
And I try to talk about communication if that's one of their core values, or I pull things from their mission statement. And, also I ask questions and I suggest, that employees and employers come to me and let me know, what their personal issue is, what their issue at the company is. I like to make it very open. Of course, I'm not a doctor, but
no, still.
but I'm willing to listen to people. And if you're open to share with me the direction you want to go or the issue, that you're currently having, I try to, cover all of that.
Yeah. And for what it's worth, I think at the end of the day, like we're all human and have experiences with these things. And I think especially people involved in health and wellness just have like an intuitive sense of just wanting to help, asking questions, and then being able to use their expertise for it. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually, a good friend of mine, Mary Bigham, I grew up with her, and she has a company called Dishworks LLC.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome company. They provide marketing and ads for larger food companies, which is really cool. And they create content for these companies. And I've done a few sessions with them, and it's great because when these companies tend to have the one-off sessions, it's kind of like a wellness day. So they bring
Mm-hmm.
other people in, and it's so cool to experience the other people that they bring into these sessions, different speakers. So I think it's really neat that these companies are really trying to create employee happiness,
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I guess it should go without saying, but it's like, take care of your people and everybody does well, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm curious. I'm going to take a step back because I know you were talking a little bit about just because in what we do, we're chiropractors. And so we do see people who end up coming in with, headaches and neck pain, shoulder pain, back pain, all that kind of stuff. And we also specifically have a question on our intake form that asks for stress levels because they're typically correlated, right? And It's like a chicken or the egg thing. It's like, does stress create the postures that creates the pain, or is it vice versa? Who knows? But either way, they're definitely associated in some way. And I know that you use EFT and TFT tapping as part of your approach to things. Can you talk a little bit about what is EFT and TFT tapping? And then a little bit about how you utilize them to help out with that.
Sure. What I love about EFT and TFT, so EFT is emotional field therapy. TFT is thought field therapy. And then there's also emotional field therapy energy, which is a little more spiritual. You can include like your third eye. And they're both based on releasing physical and emotional stress, anxiety, tension from the meridians in your body. Mm-hmm. So the meridians, according to traditional Chinese medicine, are these points in your body that allow your vital energy to flow. And these meridians can sometimes become blocked. So for instance, your third eye, under your eyes, where sometimes that there's sensitive areas you just assume are your sinuses, could maybe be something else going on, could be a blocked meridian. Mm-hmm. These are also areas that acupuncturists use for releasing needles. Yeah. And so if we tap literally these areas, tap into, you can release some of this physical, emotional pain and tension. So emotional field therapy is if you're open to talking about what's going on emotionally. Same with the energy. You just, like I said, include the third eye. But you create a short phrase. For instance, I want to let go of whatever your trauma is or your situation. Thought field therapy is great to do, for instance, at Boyle Energy, and more corporate settings, group settings. I tend to do the thought field therapy because you're saying that in your head, that short phrase, I want to let go of. You're not speaking out loud. And then there are different algorithms. So there are tapping algorithms, for anxiety, physical pain, emotional, which is pretty cool, because you can, kind of relieve some of the symptoms of your emotional and physical pain just by tapping on your body. And it's great because, for instance, during the pandemic, counselors and therapists were so difficult to get an appointment, whether virtual or especially in person.
They still can be. Yeah.
Yeah. So these alternative therapy methods are great. And whether you believe, I'll tell you, whether you believe it's actually working, I'll tell you that while you're doing them, you're not thinking about what's bothering you.
Yeah.
So you're getting out of your head, you're doing something different, you're trying something new, which I think is so important, because I think once we get hung up, it's almost like burnout. Once you're in it, it's hard to get out of it. So just trying something new is so important.
Yeah. Can you paint a little bit of a picture for us as to what a tapping session would look like? Is it something you can do in, a couple of minutes? Do you want to dedicate a little bit more time to it? Do you want to focus on a specific meridian? Like, how would you know which to tap, or do you tap many points, or, what does it look like if you're practicing?
Yeah. So, a group session is a little more surfacey. We don't really dive into scaling, but an individual session, there are two scales that EFT and TFT use: the SUD scale, SUD, and the SU scale, which I believe is just SUE. And they're scales on a level of 1 to 10 or -10 to 10. And we kind of see where you rate yourself. Now, if you're at like a 6 or a 7, I wouldn't work with you, because you probably should go see a doctor or a therapist. If you're in this, dark place, that's not me. But if you have a, just something that's really bothering you, weighing a little bit heavy, but you think you can, continue on with your daily routine, that's a great place to try tapping. And then in like a group session, I would just say it's safe to go with like a TFT anxiety type of algorithm, because it's relatable. I think we can all probably think of something we're anxious about in this very moment. So
absolutely we can.
Yeah. And we kind of run through those, that algorithm. We can run through it like 3 times. And there's also something that I love, that I learned when I became certified to do EFT and TFT tapping. It's called HAB, HAB, heart activated breathing. So it's kind of like you can set an intention, an affirmation, or your mantra, and you inhale it. And as you inhale, you imagine it literally traveling through your heart and then back out of your heart into the world. And, it's interesting. Science, I think it was like the late 80s that science finally said, oh, mind and body is related.
Yeah.
Which wasn't that long ago, which is kind of nuts. I mean, like,
but at the same time, it's something that like, I feel like has
very taboo before.
Even though it's like probably been a thing for thousands of years, where it's like,
Right.
of course, like I feel like there are things that we just intuitively know,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
then we don't have the scientific terms to necessarily explain it, like we can't explain it in ways that we have concrete evidence of, which is
Right.
why I appreciate you talking about it too, because I think that, and I know you mentioned it as like an alternative thing, but I think that regardless of the approach, there are so many things that would be classified as alternative that work because you're putting conscious effort and intention into doing them. And
Right.
so I think a sense of openness, especially for anybody listening or interested in trying it, maintaining a sense of openness and willingness to just kind of experience is really crucial. And in doing that, you may, find that it's an extremely beneficial tool for you and potentially others. So
Right.
I find it, fascinating. And I think if we stick too much to what's ingrained in the current science, then we miss out on a lot of other benefits. So
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what harm does it do to breathe an intention in and out of your heart?
yeah.
Like you're gonna be okay. It's not gonna hurt you.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just, I think it's great to take time to connect, that analytical side of you to your heart, because so often it's like, of course we want to, come from a place of love, but we use our brain to do that. Like, of course they're connected.
Yeah. Yeah. I find it interesting too. So we had, well, you had Jess Harrington on too. And, she was talking about even like recognizing certain symptoms of stress within your body. And sometimes it's hard to even recognize when that's happening. And so having a lot of options for things that you can easily do, like, sitting and breathing and, consciously thinking about a certain intention or a thing that you want to be able to let go and breathe and let it go, can be really powerful for helping to decrease those things. And as you mentioned earlier, that helps in the workplace because it kind of gets rid of that negative energy that you're holding on to and creates a little bit more of a positive environment. So I think it's really cool, which is why we were so excited to bring you on. So yeah.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I mean, it's also, I think so many of us fall into this place of creating a bad relationship with our thoughts.
Yeah.
And we allow those terrible thoughts to really define us from things that have happened in the past. And, as far as physical injury goes, a lot of times we get frustrated and down and we create such a horrible relationship with our injury. And it's sad that we don't necessarily take the time to teach people that you're creating this bad relationship, you're negative thinking. But you absolutely, each one of us, for the most part, absolutely has the power to turn that negative thinking and that negative relationship into positive thinking and a healthy relationship with your emotional and physical issues.
Yeah. I mean, the mental aspect of pain is really crucial. And it's something too, where it seems like somebody may come in, for example, to see us, and a lot of the people that we see are typically limited from doing something that they enjoy. And in most cases, they are physically well enough. Like there's no serious like red flag indication that they won't ever be able to do something again. But the biggest
Mhm.
concern is that fear that they won't be able to partake again. And then that fear almost governs their perception of their own pain or injury, you
Right.
know? Yeah. And so having a resource to be able to kind of deal with that. I mean, it's crucial. I mean, yeah, your perception of your own condition plays a large role in your ability to overcome it. Right.
Mhm. Yep. Yeah, and if you're having, back to kind of what we were saying in the beginning, your, negativity, that, by the way, I should say, it's totally accidental. You don't realize, that it's not like anybody wants to have that.
Yeah.
Um,
Human.
yeah, and it's okay. But a lot of this work that I do with yoga, mindfulness, and meditation is also not going back and regretting that you've been in this place. And it's really about just finding that acceptance of yourself and letting go of the judgment of yourself, because, you often see that judgmental people are judging other people because they're judging themselves. And they're being negative towards themselves. So once you start to do this work, and when I say do this work, it's also a service. So once you learn yoga and meditation, giving back as a service and teaching to others, or at least just sharing what you know, that means so much to people, especially people that have never really heard it before, because now you're helping someone become more positive, and positivity and happiness. Like I said, happiness is contagious. They spread. And that's really why I do what I do. I want people to be more positive, accept themselves, and be happy.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think that's great. We were talking about it yesterday too. I'm not sure if you ever listened to Tim Ferriss's podcast, but a while back, he used to have this like question that he would ask everybody. And it was like, if you could put a message up on a billboard for thousands to see, what would it be? And so Joe asked me, and I was like, chill out, Like,
oh my gosh. I was just thinking, chill out. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
So everything's fine. Just, yeah.
Chill out. I know, man, like go with the flow. Geez. Like, I don't know. My dad always used to say, life is a game, which I think, you could take that a lot of different ways, but when it comes down to it, it's like, yeah, kind of like, and you choose how you want to play. And if you can continue to remind yourself that it's just a game, and be strategic when you're moving these pieces of your life, it's huge.
Yeah. I got to ask too, just because I think I know, but I want the real answer. Where did the name, so the company's name Day Vibes, where did the name come from? What's the inspiration behind it?
So pretty much, well, I think I was supposed to have been born in the 70s. First of all, there was like
Nice.
a major mistake there. But I do love the word vibes, and, a lot of yoga and meditation, it's about putting out these good vibes, and bringing these good vibes into our lives. And then I started thinking, I really want to work with corporations, and day vibes. I want to work with corporations between the hours of 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, because this is when, the corporate world is running during the day. And we have enough to think about before and after work. And if, employers truly want employees and their machines to run smoothly, they should be carving this time out for their workers, which is going to in turn help them retain. It's also going to help with productivity. It's going to help each person in their individual roles become more successful, which in turn is going to make the entire company more successful. So it, to me, needs to happen between the hours of 9 and 5 here in America.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it.
Becoming more mindful of what you're doing throughout the day, so you don't ruminate on it after work. Just adding to the list of things that we stress about after work. I think that's a really great name.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks. And my background's also in design. So as I was drawing my logo, I love suns. So half of my logo is a sun, and then the other half is a light bulb, which is energy and vibes. So that's how I kind of came up with my logo too.
Yeah, it's a great logo. We'll post it on the website too, because it's great. Yeah.
Thanks.
Cool. All right. So just to make sure I can get you out on time too, because I know. So wrapping things up, we have this like lightning round of questions that we like to ask. They're just random questions that we put together, and it's mostly just for fun. So if you're ready, I'm gonna have Dr. Joe here read them off to you.
Okay, I'm excited.
Okay. What is the most influential book that you've read?
I love Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell.
Oh, I read that one. Yes.
Mhm.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
He's a couple other good ones that I think I've read. Of course, the name is escaping me right now, but
Gladwell.
Yeah, I think one is the tip something. I can't remember, but
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, I'm not thinking of it. What was now? I'm just curious, and I'm going to expand on this. What was the biggest takeaway for you with that book?
I think that pretty much practice is what makes perfect, along with luck. For instance, they talk a lot about, with the male hockey team, they talk about your birth date and having more time and more practice to become an amazing player. They also talk about, I love music so much, but they talk about the Beatles and how the Beatles were given an opportunity, I believe in Amsterdam, to play at this bar like continuously. And they took that time as practice to become the greatest rock and roll band in history, because of that opportunity to just continue to get better.
Yeah. That book always made me feel like my birthday set me back, because it does talk about how if you're born at the beginning of the year, you have literally just more time within the year than if I was born later in the year. And as a September birthday, being a little later, I was like, dang, so if I was born in January, I would have been a better lacrosse player. But
yes,
I don't know about that, but okay. What book are you reading currently?
Okay. So I am not, I'll fully admit I'm more of a binge watcher than a reader. Especially at this point in my life, I'm tired, which sounds so bad. But I am reading this great book by Coach Jenny, and it's called Hilda. And she names the voice inside of her brain Hilda. And it's about dealing with, if you're experiencing imposter syndrome, or any of those feelings when you're just in your day to day, when you're ready to try something new, or you're ready to do a task, and maybe you're a procrastinator, all the things that the voice inside of your head is telling you, and how to deal with your Hilda, whatever it is you want to name her or him.
That's so interesting. What would you name the voice in your head?
Oh man, I don't know. I have to think about it.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay. If you could have any meal delivered to your door tonight from anywhere in the world, what would it be?
Oh my gosh. Okay, lightning round, so I can't think too long.
It's never been a quick round for what it's worth.
Well, I will say, I'll go with this one for myself, but more so for my son, because I love to watch him eat, and food makes him so happy. So I would say pho from Pho Now, which is right down the street. We love Vietnamese.
Oh my gosh, yes, such a great comfort food. Yes. I am so guilty of getting pho all the time.
I can confirm.
Yeah. Delicious.
Yeah. Okay. Last question. If you could go back in time and give your younger version of yourself a piece of advice, what would it be?
Probably chill out.
Yeah. Definitely. I see that theme there.
Yeah. Just like that billboard. Yep. Just like the billboard, chill out. And actually, take it to heart more so than I did then.
Yeah.
It's a skill. It's a skill that's got to be practiced.
Yes, absolutely. It's not easy.
Cool. So we'll put it in the notes and everything, but where can people find you if they're looking for you?
Yeah. So I'm on Instagram at Vibes LLC, Facebook also. I'm on LinkedIn, Vibes LLC, and also my crazy name. I used to be Jess Riley. Now I'm Jess Lupacchino, which is a whole lot of consonants.
I have to spell check it every time I type it.
Yeah. My mom had such a terrible time spelling my married name Lupacchino, but I came up with a good way. You can sing the Mickey Mouse song, Lupackino, and it fits perfect. And I've told a million people and it kind of sticks. So, but yeah, my website is dayvibes.org. And my email address is jess@dayvibes.org. And I won't say my cell phone number here, but it is just my cell phone number that's listed. You can call me, text me anytime.
Cool. And then just in general, do you have any projects, events, or anything that you just want to kind of plug as a shout out as to anything you're working on or anything that you're passionate about that you want to bring some attention to?
Sure. Thanks for asking. So the second annual Create Vibration Yoga and Music Festival is coming up. We did our first one last year, hosted, I should say, our first one last year at Joanna Joanna Furnace in Morgantown, PA. It happens in late September. It's a full day of yoga and wellness workshops, vendors, Suburban came last year, which is an awesome restaurant with a really cool food truck. And we had beers and a really cool Volkswagen bus, Le Garage Winery came out and served wine. Yeah. And we had I think we had 5 bands and singer-songwriters. So we're hoping to do this again next year with lower ticket prices for the full day.
Can't beat that.
Yeah.
Cool. We'll put the details in the show notes too.
Cool.
Thank you so much for hanging out with us. We're obviously big fans of what you do. And I think in general, I mean, you gave a lot of good information about what you do and what people should look out for. And we just really appreciate your positive attitude and everything that you're doing to make a positive impact on the world here. So thank you.
Thank you. I really appreciate you having me. It was great.